Hi, I'm Bernardom Тобіном. Welcome to Real Agriculture. Today we're going to talk tillage. It's a topic that generates lots of discussion and lots of opinions, and that conversation usually starts with one question: to till or not to till? And to tackle that question today, I'm joined by Jody Young H'Huez from the University of Minnesota. She's going to share some tillage insights from Minnesota and the Dakotas. Hi, Jody. Welcome to Real Agriculture.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Jody, you presented this week at the Ontario Agricultural Conference. You kicked off your presentation with a pretty, I guess, simple assessment of tillage. It destroys soil structure, it reduces organic matter, and reducing tillage improves water infiltration. Would you put yourself in the no-till camp, or is it a case of the right tillage for the situation on your farm?
I would say it varies for everybody. While I really enjoy no-till and it has a lot of benefits, if I went out and just spoke about that, I wouldn't have very many people listening. So we look at ways that each person can reduce the amount of tillage they're doing and make it work for them.
Hey, one of the big challenges we have these days in Ontario, especially in soybeans, is planting into heavy corn residue. It keeps the soil cool in the spring. It causes some planting headaches. In Ontario, it's fair to say that we're seeing an erosion of no-till acres, based on that very fact. What's the situation with farmers in the Dakotas, in Minnesota?
Well, the Dakotas actually cover quite a weather range there. And so on the western side, they are no-till because of so little precipitation. On the eastern side is very similar to Minnesota. And no-till acres, I've just never been able to get them going until cover crops came around. And then there's that seems to be helping those acres. But for the most part, it's probably 1 or 2% of the farming. There were some people in South Dakota that were going from no-till to maybe vertical till or a really light strip-till. So it really depends where you are at.
When it comes to preserving soil structure and organic matter, you made some key points. Let's dig into those. Starting with reducing the number of tillage passes and being less aggressive.
Well, say you can't afford a brand new system right now, and you're doing chisel plow. Well, chisel plow has many different shank options and sweeps, and that some of them are a lot less aggressive than others. A lot of our fields will be working with one farmer, and after planting, so doing a chisel plow in the fall, a spring field cultivation, then planting, his residue could still be around 40%, where in other fields they would be at 20%. And it was all based on how that chisel plow was set up. So you'll need new points at some point, and that's a great place to try to reduce how much tillage you're doing, the aggressiveness of it, and keeping more residue there and getting used to that.
Yeah. And you also mentioned, hey, you touched on it. You like to shallow up those implements, and you like points and shanks versus discs.
I do. Discs, if you ever see a road being made, you'll see a disc on the side. And the reason why is because the disc tells the soil where to cut and shears and smears. And points go more along the natural lines, and the soil separates along there and is kind of broken up on its natural planes. So it does less damage to the structure than a disc. And while a disc is really good at making a road bed, we don't want that in our fields.
Now you're a big fan of vertical tillage, and true vertical tillage. When you say that, what do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of people are saying vertical till is really a shallow disc. Vertical till is this way. It could be a wavy coulter or it could be fluted, anything like that. But if you bend it, now you have a disc, and so that moves the soil differently than something that's straight. Straight goes through the soil. Even a wavy one will still just kind of go like that through the soil. It moves the soil differently. And also there's gangs of coulters that if you pitch them too much, that too is doing a lot of scraping of the soil as it's going, and I'm not real fond of that. So usually something under 5 degrees on a gang or individually mounted coulters do a really nice job. They do a great job in wet soil and breaking up residue, cutting it up. They're not as good in really dry soil. They'll bounce on the top of the soil.
Right. Now, we've seen a tremendous growth in Strip-Till, and I know you're also a big fan. Why? What do you like about that system?
Kind of the best of both worlds. You have the no-till between the rows, and then you have full tillage in between. And you can get different machines to do different aggressiveness. You know, as I go more west in the U.S., we talk more about coulter systems and ones that leave more residue. And when I'm with the guys that are used to disc ripping or really heavy chisel plow or moldboard plow, we try to get a strip tiller that cleans that row really well so that they're comfortable. I mean, if you're not comfortable with this, yeah. So anyways, the other thing that you can do with Strip-Till is that you can band apply your nutrients, your P and K, so they're not laying on the surface. That's another reason why some of the no-tillers may be heading more towards a little tillage, is the stratification of nutrients and just helping it dry out. And with Strip-Till, you leave your stalks standing. So let me touch on that really quick. I know I kind of diverse sometimes, but so a lot of people, when they couldn't get any tillage done in the fall, they asked me, hey, can I go no-till? And my first question is, did you have a chopping head on your combine? Because if you did, you just laid a huge mat of residue, and no, do not go no-till. No-till and Strip-Till, leave the stalks upright. And Strip-Till, so it warms up really nice, as well as chisel plow. I even have some data that it warmed up as well as moldboard plow. And then all the residue in between to help capture water and infiltrate things, build soil structure, that type of thing.
So, and speaking of your research, let's take a look at some of that. You did a really nice sort of look at, you know, soil warming up and temperatures. You compared. Here's a slide. You compared no-till, vertical tillage, chisel plow, Strip-Till at planting. Tell us what you found out.
Well, what we found out is no-till now can be cooler in the spring, and we know that you really got to manage that residue and keep it upright. But sometimes you don't get a lot of it decomposing as much over the winter, so you can have quite a mat. You'll have cooler soils. But vertical till, you do a little tillage, it warms up a little bit more. As you can see on the graph, chisel plow is tilling 6-8 inches, and that does warm up very nice. That's kind of our traditional tillage. And then Strip-Till, the berm warms up as well as chisel plow. And underneath, on the sides where the residue is, it is cooler. And that's actually a good thing. It can help you later on with the temperatures and also hold more moisture.
Now, here's another slide on moisture. It's a great segue there. And it really compares, you know, again, those same systems. And, hey, Strip-Till matches up pretty good right there with chisel plow.
It does. It's about the same moisture level. When you look at those numbers, 50% is saturated. Okay, so we don't want to get close to 50%. And what it shows is under the berm where you're planting is warm and dry, just like what we want for planting time. And then underneath, again, underneath all that residue, it is cooler and wetter. And that's our reserves for later.
Obviously, it all comes down to yield and economic benefits as well. Here's another slide. You did some work on soybeans. Overall, you know, a very little response when it comes to Strip-Till in soybeans.
Any tillage in soybeans. Soybeans are just the little darlings out there. You can do a lot of things to soybeans and they still yield really well. And so if anybody wants to keep or try no-till or keep their no-till, beans is kind of the no-brainer to get in there. Make sure that your stalks from the corn the year before are standing tall so you don't have a big residue mat. And yeah, we found that 75% of the time in North Dakota, you know, we're not quite up in Winnipeg, but we're close. They yield well. They yield very well with no-till. And so that's a great place to save money.
Yeah. Final thought here is on corn. We've got a slide here. It looks like, you know, you've got some real good, you know, competitive situation for Strip-Till in corn.
Yes. Corn, where soybeans is the little darling, corn is kind of the diva. It really can be quite picky out there. And what we find is if you're doing corn beans or corn bean rotation, then Strip-Till is just as competitive as moldboard plow, actually. And if you are doing continuous corn, then I would recommend that in the spring you do a secondary pass with Strip-Till, just a coulter pass, just to warm up that berm and get it going, just because the residue, especially around 3 and 4, will really build up. So yeah, it can be almost half the cost or a third of the cost as some of the other tillage systems, depending on how chunky your soil is, and they have to, like moldboard plow can have 1 spring field cultivation or 2 to get it back into shape. So it depends what you're comparing it to, but it can be very, very advantageous.
Wow. Hey, Jody, some great insights. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us here on realagriculture.com. We'll have you back if you'll come back.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully I can come in person there too.
Yeah, we'd like to see you next year right here in Canada, and we'll get off the screen.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.